All right, we are back in our sample rock castle construction file, and we are going to be working with creating and modifying a couple of basic reports that most business owners will need at minimum to know how their businesses are doing. That would be the balance sheet and the profit and loss. And you access those by going over here to the Reports tab, or you can actually go over here to Run Favorite Reports, which we talked about a little bit before. And as you can see, they have those on their list as being a favorite. So we can run those from there. But what I like to do is I like to go over here to you can either open up the Report Center and do it from there. And if you ran any recent reports, they will show up. And I'm going to add these two as favorites because I like the profit and loss year-to-date comparison. And as you can see, when I add those, they show up on our list. And also the balance sheet. With the previous year comparison. So you click on those little hearts, and then they get grayed out, but then they are added over here. Now you can access them that way. And then the other way that you can access them, and let me go ahead and expand the home screen again, is go up here to Reports, go under Company and Financial, and then we'll just open them up from there. So we've got the profit and loss previous year comparison that we'll work with first. And so what we'll do with that, and let me explain a little bit about this. A lot of the CPAs and other folks that I work with like to have the previous year side by side with the current year so that they can at a glance see the total income, the total expense, and then the net income, and just look at those. And you can run this either month by month, or you can do it this fiscal year to date. And the way that you would change those parameters is to go over here and select those. So we want to make sure that ours is on this fiscal year to date, which we currently have it, January 1st through December the 15th. So we're going to go ahead, actually we're going to go ahead and run it this fiscal year. So that will include all of 2020. So we want to see that. And what we're going to do on here is show you where you can drill down into some of these areas. Like for instance, just say that we want to see information on subcontractor work done. So we double click on this entry here, and that is going to bring us to a transaction detail report based on the profit and loss that we saw. Now with a few modifications, we can get some really useful information here. So we're going to go under Customize here. And we're going to total the account list by customer, and then we're going to also sort by name. And we'll leave that as it is. And let's go ahead and click on OK and see what we have so far. And there's a lot more you can do. Like if you wanted to, you could put the dates in the front there. Get rid of this extra column right here. They just have that in there for aesthetics basically. But as you can see, for that particular account here, which is subcontracting work, we have it broken down by customer and job actually too. So as you can see, Christie Abercrombie has these totals. So you can actually go back and edit the name of the report here. We can actually call this and change the name of this as subcontract work by customer and then you can just say customer totals like that. And you don't have to worry about changing any of the other stuff like the subtitles or anything like that. And just click on that and you'll see how the title changes, the information, and you can actually get rid of some of these columns you don't need. Widen some of them out. Like we don't need this adjustment. You can actually also go in here under this and search columns and type in any of these with check marks here. You can get rid of those if you just want to get the totals of everything. And you can save these reports. You can save as PDF or you can print the report. And you can actually go ahead and get rid of the debit and credit and just look at the overall balance. And these are accumulated totals, so maybe we don't want to necessarily do that. So we can go ahead and put debit back in there. It's just as easy as going back in there, searching the columns. And you can only do this in versions 2015 and 2016. Otherwise, you'll have to scroll through in earlier versions. You'll have to scroll through and try to find that. But putting that column back in there will show you the individual totals for each of those customer and jobs. We can even get rid of this unless you want to see it. And there might be a purpose you might want to keep that in there. It just depends. And then over here where you see credit card, and you can actually filter this by customer too if you wanted to. Go over here to customize report, and under filters you can go ahead and filter it would actually be by name. And then you just pick the name. So if you wanted to do just a report on Christy, you can go ahead and do that and see it just pulls all of Christy's stuff. And you can do that for each of them. Save each individually if you wanted to give this to your customer here so that they can check their records and make sure everything is good on their end. Adjust these column widths. So you can either print it either landscape or by portrait, just however you want to do it. So if you wanted to print this out, you can go ahead and print it. Choose either portrait or landscape. Let's say we want to look at it in landscape view. There we go. And we can hit print here and that'll print the document. And again, we're not going to do that. You can also save this as a PDF. You can go back and change again the customized report header, and you can type the individual customer totals so you don't have to go back in and change the name for everyone, because it'll show you up here the main one for that. So, and then using our open windows, we can go back to the profit and loss for the previous year. And we can do this on any of these. So that's the nice thing about having this information. It's all got stuff working in the background where you can actually drill down on any of these areas. And you can do the same thing with this, which we're not going to do. But you can actually see where you can go in and you can customize. Well, actually, let's go ahead and do it real cool. We'll total by customer and then sort by name. And as you can see, our income by customer and job. And then of course you can go in here, you can change that title as well, which we're not going to do at this point, but hopefully now you get the idea of how important and how useful this is for you as a bookkeeper to know how to create these dynamic reports for your clients and things. And I'm going to do one more report, which is real important, and it is the balance sheet previous year comparison. And you can do the same thing on this report as well. Say like if you wanted to run a quick report on retainage receivables. And the other thing I like about this report is that you can see the dollar change and the percent change from this year to last year, or from the last year to this year. So let's go ahead and double click on this retainage receivable here amount for this year. Actually, before I do that, let me go ahead and change the date range. We want to do it for this fiscal year. Now we can go ahead and do the retainage receivable. So let's say we want to run a report, and it's basically the same basic principle. You go to customize report, sort by name, and total by customer. And then if you wanted to go ahead and get rid of some of these extra columns that we don't need, and again, we can just slide them over. I always like to have the date first. And this one isn't near as long as the other. And you can kind of squeeze those in. We can get rid of this column by doing that, or you could have gone here and typed it in. And if you need to turn it back on, you can. Otherwise, you can just leave it unchecked. And let's go ahead and change this report title to Retainage Sorted by Customer. And go ahead and click on OK. And actually we'll refine that to customer job. There we go. Because that's how it's set up in here. And this is also something you can give your customers to let them see what you have on record as far as what they owe. And this one you want to keep both columns in because it shows that some of them have a zero balance, or some of them have paid down on their balance, and you want to make sure that they see what you have matches what they have in their records. And you can do the same thing. You can go ahead and save as PDF or print the report. Let's preview that in landscape. And again, you can filter this. We can go ahead and cancel all that. You can filter this. We can customize and do our filter by name. So that way you have to go back and see what the names are. That way, if you wanted to give Johnny Milton his own and click on the main one, so that way it includes all the jobs underneath his. So he's got a couple. So this is basically a good report, again, that you can, if you wanted to update that, you can change that to individual. Go back in there and see. Give that to him and see if that matches with what he shows in his records. And that way, if y'all have any discrepancies, you can work those out. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to exit out of that. And you can actually memorize these too. Let's go to this one. We're going to memorize this. So that way we don't have to recreate it again. So this is for individual customers. So, and it will accept by default the name that you've given it. And we can save that in a memorized report group. If this is an accountant only record, you can save it there, or you can save it under customers. And let's just save it under customers and then OK. So now when you go under reports and you actually go to your report center, you should be able to see that under your Memorize tab now. And there we have it. And you can make that a fave as well. So when you go back to your Run Favorite Reports, it's on your list now. See? Isn't that wonderful? And let me go back to my open windows here. And so we can get rid of this now. We don't need it anymore. We've already memorized it. So we're back to our balance sheet and we're back to our profit and loss. So we can do the same thing with those. We can print report, preview those before we send those out. The other thing you can do with this, I'm going to cancel all that, is that you can go ahead and collapse to make that shorter. So it'll fit on one page if you don't need to see all that other stuff. So let me show you what this looks like with everything collapsed. So this is all you need just to update just various departments without having to have all that other extraneous stuff in there. You can do that. Go ahead and cancel out of that because we're not going to print that. And then if you want to expand it to go back to the more detail, you can. If you need to print that and fit report to 1 page wide and 1 page high, you can do that too. That's going to make the information very tiny though. Unless you go back and change your margins and stuff like that, which you can do, but we're not going to worry about that right now. We're going to cancel that. So let's go back to our home page. And that's basically just a real quick overview of creating and modifying basic reports. I hope you learned a lot from that, and there's a lot more things that we could get into, but I could spend probably a couple of 3 hours on just reports alone. So hopefully this will give you an idea where you can kind of go off on your own and just be creative. So until next time, have a wonderful day.